This is one of my favorite cards from the 30 Postcards Project. It shows the 12-hour path of the midnight sun from the northernmost point on the European continent, North Cape, Norway. In Norwegian, it's called Nordkapp, and it sits at 71 degrees, 10 minutes, and 21 seconds north, 320 miles above the Arctic Circle. This is our 2-day story of traveling as far north in Europe as you can go to see the final day of the midnight sun, which happens every year on July 30th. It's an absolutely breathtaking sight, as long as Mother Nature cooperates. Sometimes you can travel halfway across the world only to find that what you traveled all that way to see is unfortunately closed. The very first postcard I received from India featured an architectural masterpiece of the 17th century, the Red Fort of Old Delhi. But when we showed up to see the fort on day 1 of a 7-day Indian tour, it was locked up tight, closed. This is the story of what this postcard led us to after the Red Fort, and the power of India to amaze, to fascinate, and to impress in a relatively small period of time. I'm sending you a postcard from Bovec, Slovenia. It's a place to see. We are hidden away in the mountains with beautiful nature and many adrenaline sports. You can either love the water or the green forests. There is something for everyone here. I took Ida's advice and headed for the Socha River Valley, tucked away in the majestic Julian Alps. When I arrived, I discovered that in addition to rafting and kayaking, there's another very popular Slovenian adventure sport known as canyoning. South Australia is a huge state in a country of vast open spaces, making many of its unique travel destinations seem very remote. The key is to know what adventures are possible and where you need to go to find them. In this postcard from Port Lincoln, South Australia, James writes, "Being located at the bottom of the Eyre Peninsula, there's no shortage of seafood or marine life, including the great white shark. If you're interested, you can do a cage dive and see a great white face to face." The idea of seeing a great white up close and learning more about the world's scariest fish was a no-brainer. Great whites don't survive long in captivity, and as it turns out, Port Lincoln is one of the few places on Earth you can observe these awesome giants in the wild. Have you ever visited an art museum on your travels and thought to yourself, this looks like a first-grade child made it? Well, to be honest, I think this Croatian postcard was designed by a first grader. But it got me thinking about travel and art. The capital of Croatia is teeming with artistic expression. It's impossible to visit Zagreb without being at least tempted to see one of its dozens of galleries. So I decided to travel there and explore what makes art Croatian, and what makes art, art. This postcard from Noi is entitled Life at Song River, Vang Vieng, Lao. People say that Vang Vieng is Europe in Lao because a lot of Westerners trip to the city. So it seemed there's probably more to Vang Vieng than this postcard's idyllic scene would suggest. But to get to the heart of why so many travelers gravitate to this remote Southeast Asian town, you have to be prepared to dive in full throttle because it is a wet and wild ride, which the locals sum up in one word: tubing. This postcard of a male elephant walking down a Thai highway instantly caught my attention. Living in a country where you share the road with the world's largest land animal, how cool is that? But what upset me about the postcard was reading Jody's message. Sadly, there are less than 3,000 elephants, wild or domestic, left in Thailand today. See them before they're gone. This motivated me to reach out to a conservation group in Chiang Mai, Thailand, the Patera Elephant Farm, which has dedicated itself to breeding management and the preservation of Thai elephants. In a day that I will never forget, Patera Farm invited me to experience their one-of-a-kind program, Elephant Owner for a Day. Have you ever wondered where coffee came from? Who invented the idea to roast a plant's seeds, grind them up, and extract the essences with boiling water? I'll give you a hint. It had nothing to do with the Starbucks mermaid lady. However, the story does involve the Ottoman Turks, and it's a lot more recent in history than you might think. Here's a fun fact. Coffee is the world's second largest traded commodity, beaten only by oil. In my 6-panel postcard from Turkey, Aslam asked me if I'd ever tried authentic Turkish coffee. I never had, until a recent trip to Izmir, Turkey.